for their biggest game of the season to date on Sunday as they'll travel to East Lansing to face the 8th-ranked Spartans. A must-win game for Wisconsin to keep their hopes at a Big Ten regular season title alive. With just 3 games left on the schedule, they will need to win out and have Michigan lose a game and Michigan State to lose 2 in order to gain a share of the conference title. Also today will begin the NFL Combine as it will run throughout the weekend in Indianapolis. The Packers are currently slated to pick 23rd on draft night in Green Bay on April 24th.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Farmers deal with a lot, including long days, stress, and fatigue. This is your reminder to take breaks, stretch, have a snack, and hydrate your body. Avoid farm accidents by keeping yourself healthy. Visit ruralmutual.com to learn how Rural Mutual supports Wisconsin farmers and prioritize safety on the farm.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the Brewers will continue spring training action today as they are just about to get underway against the Royals. Aaron Savale, entering his first full season as a Brewer, will see his first spring training action today, making the start. Other news around camp is the outfield depth. The team signed Mark Hanna and Manuel Margot to compete for a roster spot after it was announced Blake Perkins will be out until May. Also, manager Pat Murphy said Jackson Churio could see some more time in center this season. For the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network, I'm Austin Harper.
Yeah, we got Aaron Ashby, Aaron's second appearance here of spring training. You got up to 39 pitches, and I know you were frustrated a little bit by the results, but most importantly for you right now, Ash, is health, especially coming off of missing all of 2023, 14 games for you a year ago. Maybe let's just start there, of the difference of how you feel now at spring training compared to where you were a year ago, working your way back from the labrum surgery.
Yeah, it feels a lot better coming in here, being kind of somewhat full velocity, full health, as opposed to throwing 91. So it's definitely a different feel, and happy to be here, healthy, and working out with the guys. Just attacking the zone, being as efficient as I can, getting guys out in 3 pitches or less, being able to carry that pitch count as far into the game as you can, being able to endure 6-7 innings every start.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
I know I'm more predisposed than most to want to talk about Aaron Ashby because I am just forcing this. I am willing him to be a legit major league pitcher. I don't even need to be a starter at this point. Just be a functional reliever like we saw last year for the stretch. And God, wasn't that stretch great? I know it kind of stopped when the games really started mattering, but hey, baby steps. Finally got over the injury. I'm willing this guy to be at least a major league pitcher. Forget a high-level major league pitcher. And I'm more predisposed than most. I'm more likely than most to stuff Aaron Ashby content into a show. But he did pitch today. That audio that you heard, him and Sophia Menard, that was like 10, 12 minutes ago on the FanDuel Sports Network. So I had to clip that. I figured that's where we could begin the show with a couple of Brewers thoughts. And then I have some combine things that I want to cover. Sam Bruchhaus, Sumer Sports, is going to be here in about a half hour as well. And then we'll connect with Zach Heilprin. And I know Zach isn't sick of me. I've only been doing the morning show with him in Ebo's absence this week, and I'll be doing it again tomorrow. So I'm sure Zach is absolutely thrilled to join me for the final 10 minutes of the show as he gets ready for Thorson and Heilprin at Monks and Sun Prairie, as it is Thursday night. So if you're a listener in our Madison market, if you're a member of our Madison audience, stop by tonight and watch the Bucks play tonight. They play the Nuggets at Fiserv Forum. So you can watch that game, and, college basketball is going. Conference schedule's winding down. There's a lot of meaningful games going on right now. And you could hang out at Monks after work and talk about the Brewer game that's in progress right now. They're leading for whatever it's worth. Really, they were last time I checked. Elvin Rodriguez is coming on for the Brewers right now, and I believe they're still winning 5-4. Not too bad. So all of that on the table for Thorson and Heilprin tonight. We'll connect with Zach towards the end of the show. And if you would like to join me, 608-321-1670. You can call and text. You can comment on the live stream as well. I'll just put my cards on the table. I am bushed today. This week is slowly but surely wearing me down. And I think part of the problem is Bill's in Indianapolis. He's at the Combine, right? And his shows the last 2 days they've been awesome. They're a lot like his Super Bowl shows, except you take out a lot of the guests that you don't really know. Like today, Mike Renner was at the table. Lauren Helmbrecht from CBS in Green Bay was at the table with him. Chad Reuter from Wisconsin, but one of the NFL's premier draft guys with him. Like, the show's been awesome. I just haven't needed to do much to contribute. So I sit here and I feel my brain slowly melt between 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And then I got to hang around, and I was watching the Brewers, just slowly letting my brain melt more. So if you guys want to call and really throw it around tonight, you'd be doing me a favor, because my brain is slowly but surely melting this week. I'm bushed. So I'll be honest with you. I'll do my best to give you some Brewers takes and some combine takes as well, including a couple things that I had on the rundown for last night that we just never got to. Takeaways from today: Aaron Ashby with the start. The dude just needs to throw strikes as badly as anyone has ever needed to throw strikes. The first 6 batters he faced: strikeout, walk, hit by pitch, strikeout, hit by pitch, walk. Now he got the strikeout to close his outing, and then Tyler J came in and got him. So not a complete and total loss, but his issue remains. The guy can't throw strikes. And I remember this was the same problem in spring training last year, and I was down there talking to Pat Murphy one of the days. I said, what do you think about Aaron Ashby, right? And his ability to maybe help you get outs at the major league level this year, and how's his progression coming back from injury? And he goes, yeah, I would really like it if he could make the major league team. Would really like it. He's got a long way to go, right? Basically saying the dude can't fill up the strike zone. You know what I mean? Like, the guy's got to get the ball over the plate. And I appreciate there's certain parts of Murphy's approach to baseball as a manager that I really like. And this is what's fun about baseball. And I think a lot of people, they gloss over this because we have so much data available to us. And, like, baseball has become such I guess, a statistical sport in that there's a clear and defined answer for most things. In this spot, the numbers say you should hit this player. In this spot, the numbers say you should use this pitcher. When comparing this player to this player, the numbers would tell us that this player is better. Player A is better than player B, right? It's a very, like, day and night sport. There's less and less room for interpretation. It's become more mechanical, less jazz, right? You know this about baseball. A lot of people complain about this. Well, what's fun, and I think we underserve this, is these managers have their own perception and approach to the game. And that comes out in pitching decisions, roster decisions, right? Players they like or don't like. And I think one part of Pat Murphy's, I don't know, approach or one part of his philosophy to the game, he has struck me, and I think you'll probably see it the same way, as someone who just does not like wasting time. Right? Like, I cannot have you out there flailing with 8 or 9 pitch at bats, walking guys. He just won't tolerate it. I can't have you out there wasting time, wasting pitches, wasting at bats, giving free passes. He's got a very low tolerance for that sort of thing. It's a big part of the way that I believe he sees baseball. And I just know that through conversations with him and listening to him in interviews and watching the way that he manages the game. And a big part, I think, of the way that he's going to round out his staff, and he'll do it in conjunction with the Brewers front office, who ultimately is in the rotation and who ultimately is getting the ball in big spots to the bullpen. Can you throw strikes? And if Aaron Ashby can't throw strikes, I just don't think he's going to get anywhere with this team. He wouldn't get, don't get me wrong, it's not like baseball's filled with managers who are like, you know what, you walk a couple guys, whatever. Like, I think most managers have a pretty low tolerance for free passes, but I think Pat Murphy especially so. And all of the commentary around Aaron Ashby, and we saw this in his last outing too. I saw this from a Todd Rosiak tweet. He was like, well, he struggled with command, but the stuff looks great. And if you had that same takeaway today, you wouldn't be wrong. Like, his pitches have got a lot of movement, and his fastball's got a lot of zip. His velocity has started to return, and we saw this at the end of last year, but he seems like he's fully over that injury. But at a certain point, like, the results just have to matter, especially now that we're a full 2 years removed from the injury. Even if most of the first year post-injury was recovery, recuperation, kind of getting back to the place where he can throw the ball and trust his arm to really cut it loose and to power the ball the way that he needs to, especially as a left-hander. But at some point, the results have to matter. Like, we can't be 2-3 years removed from his shoulder injury and be like, well, the stuff looks great, he just can't throw strikes. Well, yeah, well, then he can't pitch. You know what I mean? So it's obviously very early. It's not even March yet. But Aaron Ashby's control remains an issue. Another thing that I circled from today's game is they're probably, and they haven't come out and said this, but the Brewers are probably banking on a big bump from Garrett Mitchell. More power, more availability, right? Being healthy for an entire season, more pop, more production, right? I think they're looking at Garrett Mitchell in not really signing anyone at all to replace the production of Willy Adames. I think a big part of the calculus of replacing that production, replacing those RBIs and replacing, all the power and the slugging that Willy Adames provided is, well, we think we can get more for Garrett Mitchell. And I know we spent a lot of time this offseason working at a hitting academy, trying to defend the plate a little bit better against high fastballs. He's got a huge hole in his swing up there. And even the home run that he hit the other day off of Yamamoto was on a breaking ball. You get into the actual major league season, guys aren't going to throw him that, especially smart pitchers in games that matter. Like, I'm not wasting my time throwing a slider or a changeup to Garrett Mitchell. I'm just throwing gas at the top of the zone because I know he can't do anything with it, or he hasn't been able to do anything with it. So Garrett Mitchell's ability to handle that pitch, which has been his kryptonite so far and his, limited, mostly due to injury time in the major leagues. But then he had a single earlier today, like a nice rip on the ball. If Garrett Mitchell can be healthy, and he has at least minimized those weak spots in his game, especially at the top of the zone and especially against the fastball, like, he's going to provide more pop, and the Brewers need him to provide more pop, because I think if you were to ask Matt Arnold, your projections and your numbers obviously told you that you can replace Willy Adames better and more efficiently, more cost effectively with the players on your roster than you could with anybody who is available, to bring in free agency or in a trade, right? And I bet Matt Arnold will tell you a big part of that is we think we're going to get more from Garrett Mitchell. I hope that's the case. The Brewers need that to be the case. They really, really need that to be the case. And early returns, at least through the end of the month of February, from Garrett Mitchell have been promising. Also, Jorge Alfaro. I don't really have any analysis other than listen to this home run this bastard hit. Alfaro. He hit it over the batter's eye in center field today. I lived with one of my best friends after I graduated from college. It was just me and a buddy, and he played high school, college baseball. Big Cubs fan, but not an obnoxious one. Like, maybe he gives it to me a little bit. I give it a little bit to him. But for the most part, we could coexist in a house, watch baseball, talk about the Brewers, talk about the Cubs, right? A guy who appreciates the grind of an everyday 162-game baseball season and, can get into the mechanics and the ins and outs of game. One of my best buddies, loved talking baseball with him. And one of my favorite things to do when I lived with him is we would watch baseball games. And when you hear that sound, that ball off that bat, it's just sitting. We had double recliners. Well, we actually, that's a lie. We didn't have double recliners. We had this huge couch that had 2 recliners built in. Oh, so comfy. I wish I still had it. What did we do with it? I think we might have donated it. We might have also dumped it in a parking lot somewhere. I can't remember. We would sit in these recliners. And when a guy gets a hold of one like that, you just have to sit there and go, oh, like it almost elicits a response.
Alfaro bombs away, straight away center. Batter's eye and over it. Wow, what a shot from Alfaro.
That's just a tank. Alfaro. And I love spring training too, because the ballpark's a little bit more open. So a crack of the bat like that's going to carry just a little bit more. Alfaro. Oh, I love spring training. The sounds of spring training. It's very pleasing. You get the grounds crew and you get the pop of the ball and the glove and the bat, and you just Alfaro. So I'll plead ignorance. I don't know a whole lot about Alfaro. Maybe we'll have to get David Gasper on, or maybe Kurt Hogue. Tomorrow, I got all the room in the world tomorrow to maybe get a Brewers guy on, because I'm doing the last 2 hours of the morning show because Ebo's in Costa Rica. And then we got Bill's show. And I don't think we did Brewers Talk today on Bill's show. Maybe either tomorrow in the morning or tomorrow night. We'll see if one of our Brewers contributors would be willing to come on. I don't know anything about Alfaro other than, my God, did he rope this ball? Alfaro bombs away. So one of my favorite moments from the Brewer game today, which is in progress, and it would seem that, yes, the Brewers are back on offense. So at least for another inning, they held the lead. The other day, watching, I don't think it was Brewers-Dodgers. Who did they play earlier this week? Maybe it was the Guardians, where the show started and the Brewers were up 1 or 2 to nothing. And then the next time I checked the score, 40 minutes into the show or something, they were down 7-1. I'm like, oh, okay, sick. Not that results. Again, it's late February, but you're looking to find any little nugget that you can. Judging Aaron Ashby's performance, that's definitely something that we can wrap our arms around and talk about, and I don't feel like it's a waste, right? Garrett Mitchell has shown us small signs that maybe he can provide a little bit more pop this year. The Brewers need him to. Then again, it's the end of February. We're going on all we have to go on. But I think watching the swing of Garrett Mitchell and the ability or inability for Aaron Ashby to throw strikes, two of the biggest things that I've noticed and have been watching through Brewers spring training so far. Just a couple observations from today and the last couple of games. When we come back, if you have any thoughts on that, I'll take your call. Otherwise, a couple of observations from the Combine and news that has come out of the Combine the last couple of days. We'll get into that. And Sam Bruchhaus from Sumer Sports going to be here at 4:35. Really, really fun couple of segments with some good football takes, including a destination for Matthew Stafford that I don't think enough people are talking about. In fact, I don't know that I've heard anybody talk about it. I brought this up with Bill the other day, so let's discuss that next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Alfaro bombs away, straight away center, batter's eye and over it. Wow, what a shot from Alfaro.
Yeah, that's excellent. Yeah, that's good contact. That's good wood. Jorge Alfaro. I'll be honest, I know very little about that guy. He might be like, well, he's not, because Jefferson Cuero is like their next top catching guy. So I don't know if Alfaro's like right behind him. He might be some journeyman. I don't know anything about him. We got to get a Brewers guest on. I'll plead ignorance on this. I've been in Combine mode all week. So if you have a Brewers take or a thought, now is the time. I'll take your call. 608-321-1670 to your calls. As promised, Wisco Sports Show. Who's this? Hello? Hold on. I'm going to press this button a little harder. Sometimes it sticks. Hello? That's just such a good start to the show. I can't even describe how good of a start to the show. That is. Sam Bruchhaus, Sumer Sports, going to be here in just a couple minutes after our next break. A couple of combine thoughts before we get there, because Bill's been there all week, and I've just been kind of bookmarking things. And we've done a lot of Badgers basketball and some Packers stuff, reacting to Goody comments earlier this week. One thing, and I don't know why no one's talking about this, or maybe people are, and I just haven't noticed, but Matthew Stafford's on the block, right? And I see that there's a lot of buzz or chat or whatever word you want to use, that Matthew Stafford could be linked to Vegas, that Brady might want him. All right. That starts to get interesting, right? Because the Raiders have kind of been viewed as, no pun intended, a little bit of a black hole. It's like, well, you're in a division with Herbert and Harbaugh, Sean Payton, the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid. Like, why would anybody, how are you ever going to win there? And if Matthew Stafford goes there, I don't think they're all of a sudden going to be, odds on favorites to win the division, let alone to go on a deep run in the AFC. But Pete Carroll, Chip Kelly, Matthew Stafford, Brock Bowers, okay, John Spytek, who everyone seems to really like and respect. Okay, that could be interesting. A lot of the Matthew Stafford talk has been around the Raiders, especially over the last 24 hours, a little bit with the Giants too. Why is no one talking about the Vikings? And I don't want the Vikings to go after Matthew Stafford because I think they're a Super Bowl team with Matthew Stafford. But that's why I'm a little confused as to why they're not. Why is no one talking about that? Why is no one asking about that? Why has that not been more of a topic? You put Matthew Stafford on this Vikings team, he's got 2 all-pro level wide receivers, including a guy who might be the best wide receiver in the league. Awesome tight end. Aaron Jones, they'll probably add to that running back. And I know Aaron Jones is set to be a free agent, but they might bring him back, or they're going to add there. A defense that, isn't perfect, and I wouldn't put it up there with one of the best defenses in the league. But week to week, they can force turnovers and they hit hard, and they can, everybody really likes Brian Flores. Kevin O'Connell's obviously brilliant. Everyone really likes him. You put Matthew Stafford on that team, how are they not one of the top favorites in the NFC? Well, they have J.J. McCarthy. Okay. And maybe J.J. McCarthy looks amazing behind the scenes, and the Vikings are like, nah, we're good. And if that's the case, okay. They would know more than all of us because he's been in their building and they've been around him. So maybe I just, if you can get Matthew Stafford for, a low first-round pick, a second-round pick, I don't even know what it would take. But I think he immediately shows up in Minnesota, and they're a high-level NFC contender. They're awesome. And I don't know why more people aren't talking about that, because remember in the middle of last season when it was rumored that Stafford, there was maybe some, especially when the Rams were losing, and folks were saying, well, should the Rams sell now? Should they trade Stafford to a contender? And the Vikings were mentioned. They were talked about. I don't know that it was ever anything official, but at least it came up. And if I was running the Vikings, unless J.J. McCarthy looks awesome and they are fully and totally confident that he's ready to take over and be legit, why would they not explore this? Why would they not look into this? Even if they got to give up a first-round pick, you're instantly a Super Bowl contender. And it's not like the Vikings have a ton of needs anyways. And Christian Darrisaw should come back healthy. That O-line for the Vikings is as good as it's been in a long time. I just don't know why that's not getting more run. So that's a combine thought, a Matthew Stafford thought. We can go back to the phones. Brewers are on the table. If you have a Brewers thought or anything related to the combine, Matthew Stafford, the Packers, whatever. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Grant Bills, how we doing?
I'm doing excellent, Vagabond John. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I actually want to revisit the conversation last night around network TV.
Sure.
Have you been watching Love is Blind, or have you ever watched Love is Blind?
I have seen it.
This is a safe place.
So I don't watch it. My significant other does. And I am floored by this show. I think it's unbelievable that people do this. And it's not like, you could say that about most reality TV, oh, these guys, it's wild. They go live in a house and they no. Love is Blind is actually, it is insane what they do. I can't believe people actually do that.
So it's funny you say that. And you were talking about living in kind of the college life there with the story about baseball, and maybe we won't go there yet. But so I had a college roommate, and this guy is brilliant, one of the smartest guys. Everybody has that friend that's just freaking incredibly brilliant. When you're at UW-Madison, there's a lot of them. And this dude scored in the top 0.5% of all MCAT scores. He just finished med school. One of the more successful dudes where you look at it and you're like, everybody fakes success on Instagram.
Sure.
This guy lived it,
okay.
Right? His girlfriend in college, we absolutely hated. Her name was Lauren. And this girl would come over. We were living at the time in one of the UW band houses. and she would come over, and we would be like, man, we love this guy so much. We don't know how to tell him that this girl is kind of crazy, right? This girl is insane. We've also had friends that have girlfriends like that. Fast forward a decade, Grant, she's on Love is Blind as one of the co-star / villain characters. And I'm like, this is madness. So tying it back to the Wisco Sports Show, active right now, there is a Wisconsin contestant on Love is Blind, happens to be the ex-girlfriend of my old roommate, one of my best friends. So
why is it that there are
insane.
there's always people from St. Paul, Minneapolis, and then there's always Wisconsin people like, shoot, I know this was a while ago. Mike Renner once upon a time was on The Bachelorette. He was on the Bill Michaels show today. He grew up in West Dallas. Like, what is it about the Twin Cities and Wisconsin? Like, there's always people from our area on these shows. What is it? Why are we so appealing? We're just the best.
Yeah, back in the day watching The Bachelorette, there's always that like a farm boy from Iowa that's just like glowing in every sunset scene, right? Like people, the coasties that are watching the shows, they like to fantasize about what their life would be like if they didn't live in an absolute rat race, right? If they just spent a couple weeks living in Jefferson County and experiencing the wide open highways and the plenty of space as opposed to the absolute hell of a rat race that Brooklyn is, right? So that's kind of my thoughts on that. But thought it was funny. Love is Blind, network TV, Wisconsin connection there, and she's the villain, and we knew it 10 years ago, and it's continued today. One thought, do you think if Matthew Stafford went to the Lions would increase their chances at a Super Bowl?
Yeah, probably. Assuming he can stay healthy, and that's a great spot to leave you, Vagabond John. I think that's great. If he hadn't come from Detroit, I think people would be talking about Detroit as a potential Matthew Stafford destination. Interestingly, also in the NFC North, right? The thing is with Goff is he's so damn durable. Like, look at these other contenders. The Rams have had years where I don't know that their season has been shot, but Matthew Stafford kind of seems like he's perpetually banged up. Not totally surprising. He's nearing 40, but he's always been that way. And then a guy like Brock Purdy, who is imperfect, but man, if he could stay healthy and stay on the field, like, you could deal with some of those imperfections. Jared Goff might be imperfect, but he's durable and he's always out there. And I think that provides real value, especially with a team like the Lions. Half their team was hurt last year. So I don't know. I don't want that skill. We say the best ability is availability. I think it's a skill, and Jared Goff has that. A lot of these other guys don't. Line number 2, let's take another call. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hello?
Hello?
Donovan in Georgia.
Donovan?
Yes, that's it.
What's going on, Donovan?
Hey, I just want to talk a little bit about Jackson Churio this season. I know I kind of fell into this past year with Jordan Love where, strong end of the season, I was thinking MVP type of thing. And I think, I'm starting to do that a little bit with Churio this season. What do you think is a realistic expectation for him this year?
I mean, could he be an all-star and your number 2 or maybe your number 3 hitter for the entire season in one of your bigger run? This is another area where I bet the Brewers are like, well, we lost Adames, but we can expect, additional contributions. I mentioned Garrett Mitchell, but I think Jackson Churio is probably the biggest one. Can they project out what he was in the final 2 months of the year? Really, probably 3 months. Can they project that over the entire season? I bet they probably are. And that's fair, don't you think, Donovan?
Yeah, no, I think so too, but I also think that's a risky move, right? If you're, expecting to win the division, expecting him to be, one of the top hitters in the league, it's a little bit of a risky game, but, small market team, so I get it.
That's the thing. Like, the Brewers have to take shots and they have to make bets like that. That's a great call, Donovan. They have to bet on things. The Brewers have to say, well, we need to hope that we get this. We need to hope that we get that. I don't like them doing that at every position, but let's give the Brewers credit. Like, they didn't have to bring in another starter or two the last 2 years. Like, they brought Wade Miley back. They didn't necessarily have to do that, right? Like, they've gotten greedy and they've built up depth at certain positions and at certain times. This year, I would have liked a little bit more. And I've talked about that endlessly, especially in the infield, so we don't need to belabor that. One more call, and then we'll take a break. I think Sam Bruchhaus is going to join us next. I can't remember if it's 4:30 or 5:30. I'm sorry. I'm all over the places. I told you my brain is in a pretzel. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, Grant. I just don't want you to give the Vikings too much to go on. Don't be scouting for them. That would be pretty rough. I think Matthew Stafford's a great quarterback. I just think, didn't the Vikings get an offensive tackle hurt and the offensive line kind of folded?
Yeah, Darisaw.
They need to get a better offensive line. Also, back to Jackson Churio, I think it would be great. But we don't talk about Christian Yelich. If Christian Yelich comes back with a solid year and Jackson Churio really, and we have somebody else, we got to pick up somebody else, I think the Brewers are going to be fine.
I do wonder, and Uncle Packer, I'll leave you there because I'm a little behind. We got to get to our guest. I still wonder if we get a month, 2 months into the season, and the Brewers are trying to make the Willy Adames trade 2.0, right? Like, we had these guys circled. We were interested in the offseason. The other teams weren't willing to do it. I told you the other day, I talked to people that confirmed they at least inquired about Ryan McMahon in Colorado, and Colorado's like, no, we want to keep paying him $15, $16 million a year, which is bizarre to me. They also inquired about Alec Boehm in Philly. These are players that they're looking. They at least have the mindset of being aggressive, and they're looking around. And the price or the interest wasn't there. I wouldn't be surprised if a month or two into the season, they circle back and they try to pull a big deal for a legit player, not just a little depth, but a legit player that wasn't doable or wasn't acquirable in the offseason. The same way that Willy Adames, they brought him in 2021 when they realized that Orlando Arcia, who I love, and others in the infield, just they weren't good enough to cut the mustard. So I wouldn't be surprised. Keep your eye on that. We'll think about that as we go into the season. Let's take a break, and we'll connect with Sam Bruchhaus, Sumer Sports, who's down at the Combine and just spoke. I saw on Twitter they had on their show at Sumer today with Sam and Lindsay. They had Jordan Rodriguez from The Athletic, who I think is one of the best young reporters in the NFL today, and obviously knows the Rams very well. She's on that beat for The Athletic. She does a show with Greg Rosenthal as well. So a great resource because Sam's been in that world and operating with that information with those people today. I know he wants to talk tush push as well, so we'll do that next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Yeah, I'm aware of it. We really haven't had very many discussions about it. I'm sure we will over the next few weeks as we head into the owners' meetings. But so I'm aware that we did, but really haven't had many discussions about it. I know we're not very successful against it. I know that. But to be honest with you, I have not put much thought into it. It's been around for a while. We've used it in different fashions with our tight end. Again, I think there'll be a lot of discussions about it. I got to kind of look at some of the information as far as injury rates, things like that to see. But we'll see.
That's Packers general manager Brian Gutekunst on Tuesday. Asked about, hey, so you guys petitioned the league to ban the tush push, huh? And Goody's like, well, I heard about that. You know, these GMs, they don't want to take a strong stand. They don't want to give you anything about anything. So classic politician-like answer from the Packers general manager. I don't like the tush push. I think the Packers are doing a great service to the sport of football and the fandom, football fans like ourselves, who I'm most concerned about. So I was tweeting about that the other day, and our next guest did not like what I had to say at all. Sam Bruchhaus, Sumer Sports, is here. We talked to him at the Super Bowl. He's down at the Combine. Sam, can you hear me, see me? Is everything working here okay?
We seem to be ready to rumble, my brother.
So why do you like this play? It's a rugby play. It's boring. It's ugly. The player safety is a whole nother thing. Why are you willing to go why are you going to war over this with me?
I'm going to answer a question with a question. Why do you hate smash mouth football, Grant?
I don't run power. Get under center and hand that sucker off. I don't need to see people falling forward. I'm not interested in that.
Hey, look, man, back in the 1900s, Teddy Roosevelt came in. The Ivy League was the way to go if you were a top football player, and he established the line of scrimmage. It saved football. You know what he didn't say? That you can't push and shove and get people to get yards. If you can't beat it, stop it, Grant. Come on.
No, that's not it. The Packers, the reason, I think you'll agree with this, if you made a list of reasons why the Packers lost to the Eagles in the playoffs, like I don't think the tush push is near the top. You know what I mean? This is part of it that bothers me, is everyone's looking at the Packers, who I think are doing this. Like, this is an honorable thing that they've done on behalf of the other teams and fans of this league. And everyone's like, oh, so the Packers couldn't beat it. So, no, their issue was offense. They had other issues. I don't think they lost because of the tush push. I understand it comes across as, sour grapes, but I like that the Packers aren't concerned with that. That's a mature move. I like that.
I don't think it's mature. I think the mature route would be to get bigger nose guards and to get guys that can stop it. If everyone could do it, they would. Patrick Mahomes doesn't want to do it. I guess Matt LaFleur doesn't want to do it. But it's a strategy that is based around a pretty good analytical move, which is to get your yards on first and second down. For years and years and years, people called third down the money down. The Eagles have completely changed that. Their money downs are first and second down because they get tight, they get behind the center, they have a quarterback who can squat 600 pounds, and they get 4 yards no matter what you do. And frankly, I don't think they use it enough. I think they should do it more.
Oh, that's terrible. See, and I realize now it's a numbers thing. It's a numbers thing. The Eagles are in plowing forward for a yard at a time. They are reflecting the data that you guys know. And I like it. The numbers are important. I think it makes a lot of sense, right? If you do your heavy lifting on first and second down, right, then you don't have to worry about third and manageable is overrated, right? All of these talking points. That's what I fear is all these teams realize, well, if we can do this, high school teams do this. If we could just get 3.5 yards, and I watch high school teams do that, that's not pleasing to the eye. I don't enjoy watching that. I'm worried about my viewership experience.
Look, I'm even going to disagree more. We had an excellent discussion at dinner last night. The truth of football is Army-Navy. Army-Navy is the best representation of America. It brings everyone together under one roof to support our armed forces. And better yet, Army and Navy actually hate each other. They steal things from each other. It's a perfect encapsulation of America, and it's 3 yards in a cloud of dust. And I think a perfect encapsulation of where we're going as a future America. Hopefully, hopefully they don't cut the tush push. Doge might come in and cut the tush push too. They might come in at the top. But I think it's a more analytically centric motive of getting your yards on first and second down, and then just brute forcing it on third and getting the first.
And who loses are football fans who have to sit at home and watch this.
Oh, I love it. I get excited every time. I start doing the this.
You were a
linebacker.
Why does this interest you? You're in a losing position as a linebacker.
Okay, look, I'm not in the business of giving up first downs, but I do like professional wrestling a little bit. And I don't know if you saw Frankie Louvu, but you get to fly in the air and try to take someone's head off. It's really a victory for the linebacking position, just to be cut loose to play smash mouth football. And just imagine how excited you are when you stop it.
Yeah, but then the refs come in and they say, "Don't do that, or we'll just put a touchdown on the board." Like that. That was the moment where the play should have jumped the shark.
Okay. I can get on. I'll make a concession. Perhaps we shouldn't actually give touchdowns to people. That's probably bad. That's un-American. Make them earn it through rubble and double. But I love the tush push. I think it's an innovation that completely changes the strategy of offense and defense, and it changes how you have to approach first and second down as a defense. I think that's very key, and I think their approach to that is novel, and I think it's something that cannot be stopped, and I think that's the reason why they're a good team.
Yeah, I just don't like Nick Sirianni's defense. He's like, we practice it. I'm like, I don't care. That doesn't mean anything to me. Like, we work hard at it. We'll work hard at something else. So Sam Bruchhaus is here, Sumer Sports. I don't think we're going to agree. We agree that we shouldn't give up touchdowns. We didn't like that from Sean Hockley. So
yeah, we can all shake hands on that.
All right, we can shake hands on that. So Matthew Stafford, probably the biggest story of the week. I saw you guys got Jordan Rodriguez on your show, which is awesome.
Man.
What did she have to say? Because I bet she gave you the goods.
This was one of the best interviews I've ever done in my whole life.
She rules.
Her, number one, true writer's writer. And I'm a guy who some of my favorite pieces are David Faulkner's work in Sports Illustrated. Like, that's one of the reasons I got into sports writing and the sports media landscape. Jordan is one of those people who can write on that level and tell a story and do the research at that level. And it was so enlightening to hear some of her insights about the fact that this isn't just Matthew Stafford all of a sudden wanting to get paid. He's been wanting to get paid, and he's come together in a room with Sean McVay, and they've hashed it out and said whatever words needed to be said and moved forward, and that's led to their success the last 2 years. But this is not a new thing with Matthew Stafford. The man wants to be paid commensurate with the wins that he gets. And as a result, the Rams, who are a team who turn their whole defense over, think they can do it again on offense and eschew Cooper Kupp and get rid of or trade Matthew Stafford, and they think they can do it all over again on offense. They're really confident that they can do that. Is that the right decision? I don't know. That's going to be very, very tough to do through the draft. I think they've had 2 outlier drafts, but to understand what went into that and understand, the 2 roads that they're trying to go by fact finding how much value he actually has, and if the value's what they like, extending him, and then if not, trading him maybe to the Raiders or the Giants, is very interesting to me.
Well, I understand. Okay, so because I watched this play out differently with Aaron Rodgers, but I
Right.
see some of the same themes. I
Very
think these
similar.
front offices get sick of coming to the table after every year. It's like, so it's one thing for us to worry about whether or not you're going to retire, but now we need to revisit your contract. I think front offices just get sick of that, even if a
Yeah.
player is playing well, and Stafford has been. Okay, so I get that. I also look at the Rams and they're like, well, we're young, man. Like our roster is not on the timeline of Matthew Stafford. So do we want to invest more into a player who's only going to age and depreciate as an asset? So I get that as well. I also think they could win a Super Bowl with Matthew Stafford next year. So maybe focus less on trying to do it perfectly and just trying to do it.
So that's the biggest thing to me. And I was talking with some of the scouts and external managers that are on our team over here at Sumer Sports. And it's so interesting because as an analyst, you look at the age and you look at some of our artificial intelligence Sumer scores that indicate that he may be having a similar drop off, just a little bit slower, or he's younger than when Aaron Rodgers was traded as Aaron Rodgers. But then at the same time, the last 2 years, he's put the team on his back, and they've been literally like singular plays. Like you could count the number of plays on your hands away from moving on in the playoffs. And so it's tough. Like the valuation of it, if you're looking at the Rodgers trade, you swap first round picks, 13 and 15, 2 second rounders are sent to the Packers. And then there's like a swap of a 5th and a 6th as well. So it ends up being two twos and change. It seems rich for Matthew Stafford, a 38-year-old quarterback who was pretty inconsistent this year, but was able to play, playoff winning football throughout the time. But then talking to the guys who've been in that seat, they're like, hey, man, I'd do that immediately. Are you kidding me? I'm getting Matthew Stafford, one of the best quarterbacks of all time, much less a guy who has led playoff runs 2 years in a row.
So I get the Raiders, and I see the shape of it. All right, like, I don't think they're winning a Super Bowl, but he's not going to a joke.
Right.
I think he might be going to a joke with the Giants. You tell me why the Minnesota Vikings shouldn't put a full court press on to try to get Stafford for a year or two.
I just don't think that's in the Vikings wheelhouse. I was on one of their shows here at Radio Row, and I think they're pretty committed to going with J.J. McCarthy. They made the investment, and I think it'll be interesting. Jeremy Fowler of ESPN reported a couple days ago that he didn't expect Darnold to get the franchise tag even. I think they're committed to going with a youthful movement. They have a plan that has been in action since Kwesi Adofo-Mensah got there, and I think they're going to continue on with that plan. I think the options really are the Giants and the Raiders. In my inclination right now, and this has changed since 9 a.m. this morning, that is how fast this is moving, is that it's trending more towards the Raiders. And I think it's going to be interesting because I think Stafford is looking at that roster and he's seeing a guy like Brock Bowers, who was a top tier pass catcher last year. And he's also seeing an underused Michael Mayer. And he sees an offense where he can push a lot of easy buttons, led by a team leader, an excellent head coach that has a similar positive vibe as Sean McVay and Pete Carroll. And he sees all the pieces coming together for him to not only get paid, but have the pass catchers and the young O-line to protect him.
What have you heard about Rodgers before I let you go?
It seems like the Rams are interested. That's all I'll say.
Really?
Yeah.
It would be. It
seems like the Rams are interested.
It's odd. The Rams are like, well, Stafford's too old and expensive. Now, Rodgers wouldn't be expensive because the Jets have to cut him, right? So, like, they could get him a lot cheaper. I don't know. You're trying to get cute. I've seen Stafford do it late in the postseason. I haven't seen Rodgers do that in a while. That's all.
It's interesting. In conversations, me and my co-host Lindsey Rhodes had differing takeaways. I thought that Stafford was more likely to stay and that this was just a hothead moment between the two of a four years coming to a head, and that, you sit down, all the media's together, rumors are getting out. You sit down 2 weeks after the combine, everything cools off, and then all of a sudden Stafford's there. She was of the mind, given all the information that we both jointly heard, that Stafford was going to be traded. But I think a lot of that goes into the Rams' evaluation of Aaron Rodgers and more importantly, Jimmy Garoppolo, who they already have on staff. I'm hearing that they really love him. Now, does that mean they love his play? Maybe not. But I think there is a differing opinion than us about the bridge options post Matthew Stafford for the Rams.
It's just wild to me because I think that's a Super Bowl ready roster. If they add another weapon, that defense gets a year older.
Yeah.
I hate to futz around too much at quarterback when your roster's that good. That's the only concern I'd have.
I mean, my general take is I just do not think you can flip the offense, which is a little bit harder to flip than the defense, in the same way that they did. They had 2 transfer up older defensive linemen that immediately ascended to being 2 of the best defensive linemen in the league, in Braden Fisk out of Florida State, by way of like Eastern Michigan or Western Michigan or something like that. And then Verse by Florida State again by way of Albany. Like, the things that have to come together to do that on the offensive side of the ball, even though you already have Puka and they have lost some offensive linemen. Now Jonah Williams seems like he's going to be on the block, the guard that they invest in so much in. I just don't know if that's in the cards. I think there probably is a bit of overconfidence, but if anyone can do it, I guess it's the Rams.
And I think as highly of the Rams as anyone. Like, I think Sean McVay is, you take Andy Reid out, I think he's the best coach in football with a bullet. But still, that's maybe getting a little too cute. That's a little rich for my blood. We'll go get a steak. And Sam Bruchhaus of Sumer Sports, be careful if you go into any coffee shops.
Hey man, I'm trying to hold off on the steak. I hit St. Elmo's Monday and Tuesday. I had to switch the pork chop on Tuesday. The meat and potatoes is not great for the digestion. Maybe too much information, but maybe a vegetable would be nice.
Maybe 1 or 2 vegetables.
That's what they tell me.
Food hasn't tasted the same since I left New Orleans, by the way. This is just, I'm eating peanut butter sandwiches now, and I'm like, this is not the same.
Hey, man, they do it different down there. They breed some different breeds.
Yeah, they do. Well, thank you for the time. Enjoy the combine, Sam. I appreciate it.
Y'all be good. Thank you.
Sam Bruchhaus, Sumer Sports, one of my favorite analysts. And I'm going to listen to that conversation with Jordan Rodriguez. I saw the whole thing on Twitter. It was like 20 minutes. Really interested in getting into that. And AJ tweets in and says, is Grant a low-key Rams fan? I'm loving this. I think if the Packers didn't exist, my team would be the Rams. And I know, AJ, and you're a lacrosse listener, I know you and your dad are Dodgers-Rams guys. When Stafford first got traded to the Rams, it drove me nuts because I thought people made a ton of excuses for Stafford. Well, he never had any help. He never had any good players. It's like, okay, but maybe the best defensive lineman of his generation, maybe the best wide receiver of his generation. Okay. But other than that, I suppose, yeah, he never had any help. Like, he was always banged up. And I thought Matthew Stafford was far from this perfect, blemish-free player who just needed a better home. And then he went to LA and it worked. And I thought, look, I thought they threaded the needle that Super Bowl year. I didn't think that it would be able to. I think they'd be able to maintain like this, and they have. So I think so highly of Sean McVay. As an offensive mind, yeah, but he's underrated as a culture builder and as a roster builder and just the whole thing in LA. And I think they did an incredible job flipping their defense from old and kind of untalented to young and promising in a year. It's hard to do that on offense. The Packers pretty much did it last year, so it can be done. I just think that's a lot of farting around. Like, when you have a team that could win a Super Bowl, like, you want to get cute because you don't want to pay Matthew Stafford. You're interested in Rodgers. Okay. Stafford just led a team to the Super Bowl. I haven't seen Rodgers do that in 15 years. So that would just concern me a little bit. Although I am intrigued by Sam's answer. I said, okay, well, what have you heard on Rodgers? And he goes, I'm just going to say I think the Rams are interested. That piques my interest. Maybe we can discuss that more. I have some more combine takes, whether they be about the Packers or other big picture things. We can keep the Stafford conversation going as well. I think Minnesota, I don't know. I think Minnesota's getting too cute with McCarthy, and I think the Rams are getting too cute with Stafford. So we can continue that discussion next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
It's the Wisco Sports Show. A couple minutes before we break. Here at 5 o'clock, we'll get an update from Austin Harper, filling in for Zach this week. Zach doing the morning show. I am tomorrow, if you are a listener of our network, buckle up. I'm doing the final 2 hours of the morning show tomorrow. Zach has an appointment, and Ebo's gone. Then I will be doing 4 hours with Bill. And then this show tomorrow night. And I'm not going to lie, it did cross my mind to potentially just run a show tomorrow night and leave. But here's the thing. I do that, and then I got every cone roller and LaCroix Butler up my ass for the entire weekend, and I'm already here in the studio, so I'll just stick around and do a 7th and 8th hour of radio of the day. Why not? So you guys are not allowed. You are not allowed to yell at me. I can fart into the microphone for 2 hours tomorrow night, and you are not allowed to yell at me. You understand? I'm directing this at a very small, specific portion of the audience. Luke on the Dirt Road texts in on the Tush Push. Says, Grant, I really don't care about the brotherly shove. I just think going back to not assisting the runner takes care of it. The iconic photo of Starr's surprise sneak in the ice bowl is because the running back realized what happened and threw up his arms to show the ref he wasn't helping. Yeah, I don't mind quarterback sneaks. Do that. Knock yourself out. I don't need a team of players behind the quarterback with their helmet up his ass, pushing him forward. That doesn't do anything for me. And of course, Sam likes it because Sam's a football player. He's like, it's football in its purest form. Well, then go watch 8-Man and leave my game alone. Stop ruining the NFL. Go watch 8-Man football in southwestern Minnesota. There's plenty of good 8-Man football. So go watch that. And also, Sam's an analytics guy. Well, it just proves that first and second. No. I understand your math. I get it. Stop focusing on third and manageable. Focus on succeeding on first and second downs. I understand that. I don't need some stupid quarterback fall forward play to prove the math out. I accept it. You don't need to drill it into my skull further with some awful play. That's enough on the tush push. I'm running out of gas. Hour 2 next.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Bucks are just about to get underway, playing host to the Denver Nuggets in Milwaukee. The Bucks will look to rebound from a loss on Tuesday to the Rockets. They had won 4 in a row before the loss, and they have also won 9 of the last 11 at home. With a record of 32-25, they currently sit at 5th place in the Eastern Conference, tied with the Pistons. And turning to the Badgers, who are getting ready for their biggest game of the season to date on Sunday, as they'll travel to East Lansing to face the 8th-ranked Spartans. A must-win game for Wisconsin to keep their hopes at a Big Ten regular season title alive. With just 3 games left on the schedule, they will need to win out and have Michigan lose a game and Michigan State to lose 2 in order to gain a share of the conference title. Also today will begin the NFL Combine, as it will run throughout the weekend in Indianapolis. The Packers are currently slated to pick 23rd on draft night in Green Bay on April 24th.
For nearly 40 years, ABC Wisconsin Apprenticeship has been helping men and women transform themselves into highly skilled trade professionals. These skills are in demand and provide strong wages and benefits for a bright future. If you're a hands-on person who likes the feeling when you get projects done, apprenticeship could be for you. Go to buildyourcareerwi.org or just search online for ABC of Wisconsin.
Well, the Brewers were in spring training action today, where Aaron Zavala, who is entering his first full season with the team, got his first start of the spring, notching an inning and 2/3 of work, allowing 1 run on 2 hits. Also playing center today was Jackson Chourio. Manager Pat Murphy said Chourio will see more action in center this season than he did his rookie year, especially with Blake Perkins being out until May. For the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network, I'm Austin Harper.
Yeah, we got Aaron Ashby, Aaron's second appearance here of spring training. You got up to 39 pitches, and I know you were frustrated a little bit by the results, but most importantly for you right now, Ash, is health, especially coming off of missing all of 2023, 14 games for you a year ago. Maybe let's just start there, of the difference of how you feel now at spring training compared to where you were a year ago, working your way back from the labrum surgery.
Yeah, it feels a lot better coming in here, being kind of somewhat full velocity, full health, as opposed to throwing 91. So it's definitely a different feel, and happy to be here, healthy, and working out with the guys. Just attacking the zone, being as efficient as I can, getting guys out in 3 pitches or less, being able to carry that pitch count as far into the game as you can, being able to endure, 6-7 innings every start.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
All right, a couple of housekeeping items. And trust me, the last couple of months, really the last year or so of the show, I've tried to get this 2-hour window to sports. We have the intro, there's a soundbite, we react to it, we're off and running. We come back from break, we play a soundbite, we talk about it, we're on the topic. Less grab ass, okay? I have 2 grab assy things that I need to mention because both have been very important to how my day has progressed. This day has agitated me. I would like to go to bed, but I'm not looking forward to going to bed because I know that I'm going to have to get up at 6 tomorrow and come in extra early to start hosting the morning show at 8 because Ebo's in Costa Rica and Zach has something going on. I want to make it clear. I don't hold this against Ebo, and I certainly don't hold this against Zach, who's been doing the majority of the morning show all week, because I have to take some time off for a wedding in Mexico and then an international trip in April. Let's get them out to like 2 weeks. And when that time comes, I'm going to need to lean on my coworkers like Ebo and Zach to help pick up the slack, which I am doing more than graciously this week. I'm just getting a little tired and crabby, okay? Not helping matters today has been this stupid story. What is this woman's name? Zach and Kate asked me about it when I got in today. There's this woman who goes to Ole Miss, and apparently she cheated on her boyfriend with her dad. And he's in a fraternity, and all the screenshots are going around, and this thing has blown up. This story, I can't do this story. I can't do stories like this. And I've seen that every Barstool personality has like a reaction video and a theory. These are 18, 19-year-old kids. Why as a nation must we be so interested in their sex life? Why is everyone, is it Mary? It's Mary Kate something. Why is everyone so interested in this? Yeah, it's kind of funny. All right. Girlfriend cheats on boyfriend with dad. Okay. Haha. If that took place in Curb Your Enthusiasm, that'd be hilarious. But this woman who's 18 or 19 is getting harassed online by the Burnerverse, which, by the way, We are close to jumping the shark with burner accounts, and I love the burner accounts. I live amongst the burner accounts on Twitter. The Brewers burner sphere, the old 1250 burner sphere, the SSP, the fan in Milwaukee, had an incredible burner sphere long before burners were cool. Talking about LaCroix Butler, who's a listener of the show, Cone Roller, who you hear call, Bodie, and others. These are excellent accounts, and I appreciate their culture. But it would seem like the burnerverse as a whole is we're getting like the burnerverse was cooler when it was like 10 buddies just tweeting at each other. And now it's the WEAC burnerverse. There's a good community online, which I very much enjoy. WEAC Dale, I think, starting to slowly understand their culture online. Dale Jorgensen yesterday, really good updates about the WEAC tournament. So that thing has been bothering me today. Also, something that I've been doing today to help try to mellow out a little bit. One of my favorite hobbies is to punch in destinations in maps on my phone and then see the route and how long it takes. Does anyone else like doing this? I think I talked about this. It had to be the last couple months. Women don't realize, and there are probably women that do this too, but I think it's more of a guy thing. Ladies, if you're listening, you can't fathom and you can't possibly begin to understand how much time your boyfriend or husband spends using the Maps app on his phone. I get more at Twitter and maybe Reddit. And then behind that, my most used app for entertainment is Maps. Like, I was watching Curb the other night, and Vince Vaughn's character points out that he started a mattress store in Temecula. Okay, well, I'm obviously looking that up, and I want to know how far it is from LA. What highway do you take? How many hours? Do you cross time zones? That sort of thing. So today, as Bill is at the Combine, Bill's doing the show in Indianapolis. Normally, as a producer, my job is to book the guests, to play little sound bites, to cut the podcast, to get it posted, just logistical things, right? Well, this week, he's handling all of the guests. There's not really any sound because everyone's there. I've been sitting back here with my thumb up my butt. So I've had very little to do other than to post the podcast and play the sound that Mike sends me. And I've made some arrangements for tomorrow. So if Bill asks, like, I'm doing my job, but I have a lot of time where I'm just sitting here and I'm wasting time. So what I did to entertain myself today, after, of course, I completed all the tasks necessary to produce and to put on Bill's show, I brought this up a couple of times. I am so far back into Deadliest Catch, it's not even funny. I used to watch a show all the time when I was little. I was watching it on the plane to and from New Orleans, and I have not stopped. I can't stop. So I'm familiarizing myself with all these tiny ass towns in the state of Alaska. And what you realize, if you look up towns near the Arctic Circle or on the Aleutian Island chain or anywhere up in Canada, which I like Wikipediaing small towns in Canada. You ever read the Wikipedia for Yellowknife? Fascinating. Big Slave Lake. That's an interesting body of water. But what I realized about these towns up in Canada and northern Alaska is I want to punch them into my phone to see how many hours it would take to drive from Madison, Wisconsin to the north side of the Yukon territories. The problem is there aren't roads. It can't give you a route because at a certain point you run out of road and you can only get there by plane. So what I realized today, and this is one of my favorite, this is my new favorite activity, is I like to find really, really remote airports on the edge of the world. Legit airports. I'm not talking about like little airfields, like airports that you could actually take a plane into as a passenger on a commercial airline. For example, today, I was reading, I have the Wikipedia open in front of me, the Wiley Post Will Rogers Memorial Airport. It is Point Barrow. It's the northernmost point, the tip of Alaska. This thing is up there, okay? So I found the airport to this place. You can't drive there. I found the airport to this place. It's on the edge of the Arctic Circle, the top of the continent, okay? You can't drive there. So what I did is I Googled the airport and it says that they fly Alaskan Airlines. Okay. So what I did was I went to the Alaskan Airlines website and I punched in Minneapolis, St. Paul to Wiley Post Will Rogers Memorial Airport. The airport abbreviation, and these things interest me as well, is BRW. So I type in MSP to BRW, whatever, a week in June. The dates are irrelevant for the most part. You would be floored. It costs you more to fly from Minneapolis to San Diego than it does to fly to Minneapolis, to Seattle, to Anchorage, to quite literally the closest you can fly to the North Pole. It's like $650. And you want to fly Delta from Minneapolis, St. Paul to San Diego? It's like $800. And I've flown to San Diego a couple times. I have family there. So we go. How is it? This blew my skull wide open today. And now I'm just price checking every airport in the world. Like, I can't stop. The northern remote airports, little fields. You can't fly into Dutch Harbor. That's where Deadliest Catch, that's where they drop the load. You have to know a guy, I guess. But I'm talking like northern ass airports. 3 or 4 connecting flights to get up there. It costs you like $600. It's cheaper to take a direct or an indirect flight to the Arctic Circle than it is to take a direct flight from Hubert Humphrey Airport to friggin' San Diego. That's a big airport. This blew my mind today. So if there are any maps enthusiasts out there like myself, get into flight research. It'll blow your mind. And the miracle of modern travel is I could just go on my phone and book a flight. I'm an idiot. And I can just go online and book a flight from Minneapolis, St. Paul to Seattle to Anchorage to the Arctic Circle, the northernmost point in the continent. And I'm out $600, which is less than a flight to California. Blows my mind. Anyways, I needed to get that off my chest because I wasted a lot of time on that today, but I had a lot of time to waste because Bill is at the combine and I don't know what to do with myself. And I think I'm fatiguing at a faster pace because of this. And I really wish today was Friday, but that's okay. We power through. If anyone would like to join, 608-321-1670. Thoughts on the combine? Matthew Stafford, anything I talked about with Sam Bruchhaus, or the Brewers who played today. Ashby wasn't great again, but Garrett Mitchell looks good, and so does Jackson Churio. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
It's Darnell. Hey,
Darnell.
I'm only going to say one thing here. First off, oh, boo-hoo, you have to wake up at 6 in the morning. I feel so bad for you. That's terrible.
Stop this. I was up at 5:45 this morning. I normally get up at 6:30. It's not about getting up early. It's about leaving my house. You get a load of this, Darnell. I'm on the air every night until 6. I'm not acting like a victim. I'm explaining my day. I get home around 7. Tomorrow, I will leave my house at 6:30. That sucks. Like, what is my reprieve? How am I supposed to be excited about quitting time tonight, knowing that the moment I get home, I might as well just go to bed because I'm going to have to get up and go right away again? There's no mental break, and it's wearing on me, and you listen every day. You can probably hear it in my voice.
Yeah, just a bit. Also, one other thing. She cheated on her boyfriend with her boyfriend's dad, not her dad. That would be really whack.
Did I misspeak? I'm sorry if that wasn't clear.
Okay.
She cheated on her boyfriend with her boyfriend's dad. It's a little weird to me that as a society, we've become so obsessed with this story. They're children. And I said this to Zach this morning. I said, Zach, these people are children. This is weird. He goes, no, they're not. They're 18. That's a child. You know what I mean? Like that's too young.
You didn't even mention that the Epstein files are coming out today, or were supposed to come out today, or will never come out, or
they're not coming
whatever
out.
it is.
And I know they're doing these photo shoots and they all have these binders. We're never learning anything about this thing ever, because the people so obsessed with putting them out there on the thing. You know what I mean? Like the people in power. We're going to expose the people in power. Say the people in power. Like, come on.
There's way too much money in this stuff that, yeah, none of it's ever going to see the light of day. And even the stuff that does is going to be so redacted that it's not going to even matter. So, yeah, fun day. You're like about 3 or 4 days behind on the cheating on your boyfriend with your dad stuff, but that's all right.
I think the most interesting part of this to many people is that the son and the girlfriend, they're still together. It didn't rock their relationship.
That's wild.
Or so we're told.
That's a God, not to get into that. That's a deal breaker. Wow.
You would be done. You'd be out. You have a child. You have a child now. You can think of this in a certain framework as a parent.
No, absolutely not. I'm not even going to comment on that. That's terrible.
No. I mean, your child is young, but at some point your child will be of dating age.
And have a girlfriend that I then cheat on my wife with?
I'm just and you know what? Doesn't that tell us something about our society, Darnell, and the male gaze that we're all taught about at these liberal ass brainwashing schools, that no one's wondering about the mom. No one's like, how is this affecting her? Because the son wasn't the only one cheated on. It was also, I assume this guy's still married or the mom is in the picture. Maybe she passed away, but no one's even brought it up. Doesn't that tell you something about our society, Darnell?
It does. It does. We're cooked is what it says.
Yeah. And then she puts out a statement today. It's a good call, Darnell. And then she puts out a statement today calling out Pat McAfee and Antonio Brown for being jerks about it and spreading the story everywhere. It's just, what have we become? What has happened to us? You know what I mean? There's too much going on every day. I think I referenced this last night. All I want to do is bitch about Aaron Ashby's stat line. And I got the entire Barstool universe and Burnerverse talking about how some 18-year-old kids from Ole Miss had some infidelity between them. It's just, I can't. I'm going to leave. I'm going to go home. I deserve to go home. I don't mean to be bitchy, but I swear to God, I'm going to do it. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Eric on I-90.
Good evening, Eric. I didn't watch Survivor last night. We had to catch up on Severance, so I'm going to get to it tonight. So don't spoil if you were planning on bringing that up.
I did watch it, and it was pretty good first episode, so I think you'll enjoy it.
Okay. Good world building. You just got to kind of you start to get to know everybody. You're getting into the party. You're saying, hey, making small talk, type of thing.
Right. I would say this, that I would never volunteer to put the puzzle together at the end of the challenge. That is really about the worst position to be in.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and it's the people are always they're always so adamant about it. I was like, no, give me the puzzle. And it's the people who have like botched the puzzle the first couple of times who are so adamant on doing it again.
Right. Don't do the puzzle. That's really my message of the day. Don't do puzzles are meant to be done on like a card table and on your back porch, and you got nothing better to do.
Yeah. They're not meant to be done with Jeff Probst, breathing down your neck.
Yeah. Right. Telling you that you're way behind and that you suck. Right?
Yep.
You are so slow. He is so slow.
The Gotta Tribe really falling behind. That's the funniest part about Survivor to me is Jeff Probst in that voice will just blast a team that's not doing well.
Right. I would punch him in the face by the end of that.
You are so anti-Jeff Probst.
I'd drop him. I'd be like, I know I'm behind. I know. What do you think this is? What do you think? We don't know?
We're well aware, Jeff. Oh my God.
We're aware, Jeff.
Oh my God.
No, I appreciate all your hard work that you're trying to keep this baby alive out here.
Now you're borderline patronizing, but I'll take your compliment. I appreciate it.
No, because there's really nothing worse than getting in this car and getting a best of show. Because I've heard it all before.
Yeah.
I know it right away. You got a best of, and then I'm like, geez. Now this is I know people need time off. You gotta pull out the best of. But sometimes that runs a little thin, right?
Oh, yeah. And I hear about it. I have vacation days. I'm available. I'm not going to do it tomorrow, but like there are times where it's like, hey, I'm going to lacrosse for the weekend and I want to go early. So I'm going to blow off a half day of work. Do I need to do that? Probably not. Maybe that's a little selfish. But like coming up in March, I got to go to a wedding. Okay. They're getting married.
Right.
I'm attending. Right. What do you want me to do?
You could do your radio show on the road. That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, but then
at the wedding.
But then what? That's not a break though. Then I'm just working in a different place.
Right. Well, I think you enjoy your job. I do.
I do. It is a job.
We're off sports now. We're off sports. And then, hey, I'm kind of liking the Bucks right now. I just kind of liking the Bucks. I am.
I'm interested to see how they look against Jokic tonight. And this is a good call, Eric. I just want to get to one more person. Here's something to chew on, Bucks fans. People have been so angry at Brook Lopez since the Rockets game the other night. And that final 3-point shot probably wasn't great. And maybe it's just the people I see on Twitter. Like, you guys are nasty. Using nasty language. It's like, okay, so we took a deep three in a regular season game on a Tuesday night in February. But let's see what Brook Lopez does in a matchup against a player like Jokic tonight. This should be theoretically a game where he brings a lot more to the table. And it's at home. This should be an exciting game tonight. And Bucks fans, cool it on the Brook Lopez hate just a little bit. All right, one more call before break. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Well, listen to Mr. Fancy Pants losing his stuff right now.
A little bit, Rico. Just a bit. Just a little bit. Although I think we've settled in nicely to start this hour. This is the most that we've talked about something not sports related on the show in a while. I feel like we've kept the focus on this show for a long time. The bottoms fell out today.
Okay, wait, listen, here's my bullet points, all right, Mr. Fancy Pants. First of all, the X tweet, if you want to call it that, calling yourself out saying, I called that the Eagles were going to win. Then to go on from that, you, Mr. Fancy Pants, becomes facial recognition in Southeast Wisconsin because he has a television show with the big unit. And now He's complaining about his job.
Where is this? I'm not complaining about my job. I like my job a lot. It's just that
I know you like your job.
Ebo is gone. We got guys pitching on 3 days rest now. It is still a job. I know you guys you guys just delight in these 2 hours every night. It is a job.
Pay now, play later. You're working on it. I keep telling you, so at some point, Mr. Grant Bills will be more than just a little regional radio guy, and he's going to go national, and he's going to have producers for him, and you're going to be the inverse. You are going to be the what do they call it? The bizarro Jim Rome, because everybody's going to love you.
Have a take, don't suck. It's easy. You be Jim Rome, which people get so bent out of shape about Jim Rome. Why is Jim Rome on the air? I kind of like Jim Rome. He entertains me.
No. I said you will be the bizarro Jim Rome. You will be the polar opposite of Jim Rome.
I can do that. I'm not going to sing. I'm not going to sing the songs of Eagle River as nice as Eagle River is. Jim Rome was a little bit too hard with that.
You know what? He's saying nice things about Wisconsin, so he's talking about flyover country in a positive way. I'll take it.
That's true. I'll take it too. That's a good call, Rico. And by the way, I'll be in La Crosse. We got a show at Flipside in April, and I believe the date is. I keep saying the problem is it's far enough away where it is April. It's either the 17th or the 24th. Damn it! I should know that. It's the same night as the Packers Hunger Task Force event in La Crosse, which I am a part of, which is why I'm in town. La Crosse, but then we're doing the show the next night at Flipside, Friday night. Hunger Task Force, La Crosse. Oh, I should probably Packers, include that in the search. It's April 10th. Okay, so I had it really wrong. So we will be at Flipside in La Crosse, Rico. I hope to see you there on April 11th. Something to look forward to. That will be a 4-day weekend in La Crosse. That's going to be a blast and a half. Looking forward to that. That's helping me get through this week. This month, really, this whole year so far. I need a break. 3 minutes. We're going to come back, and I'm going to reiterate some thoughts on Matthew Stafford and build on some of the things that Sam Bruchhaus said back at 4:30. I'm going to take more of your calls, too. Sure.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. It's the Wisco Sports Show. My name is Grant Bill. Zach Heilprin going to join us in about 20 minutes. Looking forward to talking with Zach. I haven't talked to him since, this morning at 9 o'clock. He's getting set up at Monk's for Thorson and Heilprin, live at Sun Prairie. I believe, but I'm not sure, that Evan Flood will be joining him to talk Badgers. I actually want to talk a little Badgers football by way of the Combine. Yeah, there was a Badger player that spoke with the media. Mike Clemens got us some audio, and he sent me 36 cuts of Hunter Wohler, who I think he's one of few. He might be the only. There's not a lot of Badgers at the Combine this year, but Hunter Wohler is. And Mike Clemens today, who's in Indianapolis with Bill, sends me 36 cuts of Hunter Wohler talking about this and that. I only want to play you the first two because I think they're an awful look for the current state of UW football in the athletic department and just what Fickell has going on. And we talked a little bit about that with Jesse yesterday. He did a one-on-one with Fickell that was really insightful. It's not exactly going so great, and I don't have a ton of faith that it's going to get better. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. It could get better. Hopefully it will. But schedule's not going to make it easy. That's for sure. They're going to have to get a lot better for the results to get any better, let alone the process or the actual quality or the talent of field on the play, even just looking past the results, which can sometimes, if they have a hard schedule next year, they only win 6 games. Like 6 games, you could walk away from a season next year with 6 wins and say, actually, we took a step, which is hard to believe. But it's really going to be difficult to win games with that schedule next year. We'll get to that after our next break, after 5:30. Matthew Stafford, it would seem, is serious about potentially leaving the Rams. He wants to get paid. He wants to get paid. He wants to get paid. Sam Bruchhaus said he wants to get paid commensurate with his performance. He's making something like $40 million, okay? There are other quarterbacks who make like 55. Okay, so he could make more. If I was a quarterback approaching 40 and I was injury prone and I was in a good situation, a team with a good culture and a good coach, and I lived close to home, and I played in a dome in a winnable division, a team that I have taken to the Super Bowl before, I get a good thing, okay? I would think long and hard about rocking the boat. You know what I mean? I think these teams, and we've talked about this, I think these teams just get sick of going year by year by year with a quarterback. I think it wears them out. I think it wore out Belichick at the end. Going back years before Brady ever even departed New England, I think he got sick of the uncertainty and the contract and all. Like, as soon as quarterbacks start to get older, I think franchises and coaches, they feel this ticking clock in the back of their head. Like, yeah, okay, but who's going to be next? Who's going to be next? And I think the Packers went through that with both Favre and Rodgers. I think the Rams are going through that with Matthew Stafford, where it's like, man, we love you, but you hint at retirement constantly. You want a pay raise constantly, even though you're under contract for 2 more years. Like, buddy, we're getting sick of doing this. And the Rams, probably more than any organization in football other than the Eagles, should be confident in their ability to identify talent in the draft, even with a limited number of picks, and to sign the right types of guys in free agency and to coach up the right guy. Like, yeah, they should be confident, but their defense is loaded with young talent. Their offense needs a couple of tweaks and needs some talent here and there, but Matthew Stafford showed that he can still do the thing this last year. I think if it hadn't been snowing in Philly, the Rams might win that game, just like they almost won that game against Detroit, a team that was ultimately up multiple scores a week later in the NFC Championship game and ended up losing to the Niners, who ended up losing to the Chiefs, right? So the Rams probably have sour grapes about the way that both of the last 2 seasons ended. I get that. But I think long and hard about, well, we could pay 55 for Matthew Stafford, or we could bring in Aaron Rodgers and pay, I don't know what Aaron Rodgers is going to command on a 1 or a 2 year deal. I don't know. Rodgers to the Rams would be fascinating. Like, we think there's this big legacy pretzel, right? For the longest time, we had Rodgers ranked here. He was knocking on the Brady door for talent and for one of the greatest quarterbacks of this era. And then Brady gapped him fairly, and I've come to terms with that. I've found peace with that. And then Matthew Stafford goes somewhere else, makes and wins a Super Bowl, and everyone's like, well, Matthew Stafford, is he better than Aaron Rodgers all the time? Which I think is kind of insane because they have the same number of Super Bowls, and Rodgers has 4 MVPs. Like, this isn't the NBA where MVPs at a certain point are almost held against players, which is ridiculous and part of the reason why the NBA is kind of toxic. I do not believe for a second that Matthew Stafford should be considered on equal footing or higher footing than Aaron Rodgers, even though some feel that way. But what if, just go down this path with me for a sec. What if Matthew Stafford is sent packing by the Rams? He goes to the Raiders, they get last in the division, and it doesn't really look all that great. Rodgers then goes to the place where Stafford was with McVay. What if Rodgers, and I know this sounds insane because I don't even think this is possible because I don't think Rodgers has it in him anymore. I don't think he's had it in him for a while. But what if Rodgers were to go to LA and win a Super Bowl or play at a really, really high level? How do we rectify that? How do we organize those bullet points between Rodgers and Stafford? That gets really messy. That turns into a pretzel quick. I think Rodgers is closer to not playing football in 2025 than he is to winning a Super Bowl in 2026. Like, I don't think he has it anymore. But maybe the Rams feel like, well, we can bring him in. We can make this happen. That defense is probably going to be legit as heck next year because they were legit this year, and a lot of them were rookies or second-year players, right? So I get it. I don't know that I'd have the stomach for it. I think that would scare me. It's a little hater trade-ish. Where it's like, yeah, well, Hader's great, but what if we could get a Asteri Ruiz and then we'll bring in Taylor Rodgers? He'll basically be the same thing. Yeah, but basically he wasn't. You know what I mean? And all those Rams players, I would imagine, like Matthew Stafford. And they look up to the front office, Les Snead and Stan Kroenke, and it's like, well, that's our guy. And you didn't want to give him what he's worth? Pay him. He deserves it. So I don't know. That thing could... I'm not saying the Rams could crumble or could crumble quickly, but I think you can get too cute and you could smell your own farts a little bit to the point. It's like, man, why did we tinker with this? Why did we toy with this? We had a good thing going. Why didn't we just pay the guy we had and let's go try to win a Super Bowl? 608-321-1670. I want to make sure that I'm not behind on any texts. Aaron in Eau Claire says, have a strong drink. I love Eric on I-90. Correct. Yes, I love Eric on I-90 as well. And I love that he's dialed into Survivor. I'm excited to watch when I get home. When we come back, I want to play you some audio from Hunter Waller. Mike Clemens and others were talking to him at the Combine, and I think he had a couple comments that just make the Badgers look so bad. So we'll do that next. Zach Heilprin around the corner. We'll talk to him for the final segment. He's getting ready for Thorson and Heilprin live at Monks and Sun Prairie, so a lot to look forward to. We got a half hour left of the Bill Michaels Show. This is what happens when you make me do too much radio. I start to go nuts. The Wisco Sports Show will be back after this.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Wisco Sports Show. I just hope you're having an excellent night. I appreciate you listening always. The live stream as well is an option if you want to watch. YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at Wisco Grant. You can text and call 608-321-1670 if you'd like to join. Talk Packers, talk Matthew Stafford, anything about the combine. I see the Shamar Stewart cat from Texas A&M, who Bukowski has been going on and on about, tested very well. Probably will go too early for the Packers to get him. I know a lot of Packers fans are concerned. We don't want another developmental edge rusher. Well, that guy might not be an issue with the way that he's testing. So I guess you can take solace in that. Although maybe if he tests so well, he'll be a good player. I don't know. Need to find that balance between Lucas Van Ness and, I don't know, someone actually good Any texts? I think we should be caught up. I have Duckin. I shouldn't have looked. Duckin Holman says, it's all that wax, Bills. Quit the dabs, bro. It's melting your brain. Dab rigs freak me out. There's a needle and I couldn't. So my brain might be melting just for reasons other than that. Before I break, I told you I have a Badgers topic. So Hunter Waller's at the Combine, and Mike Clemens today during Bill's show emails me 36 cuts, 36 different sound bites of Hunter Waller talking with the media. Some of it Badger related, some of it not, right? This is a guy who played at Muskego, correct? Not Maguanago, but Muskego? I think Muskego. Maguanago's a little bit farther out from Milwaukee. Muskego's closer, right? He played at one of those. The good one, I think, is Muskego. Doesn't matter. Why am I wasting time on it? It doesn't matter. 2 sound bites that I want to play for you because we played both of these on Bill's show earlier today, and I'm sitting back here in the studio like, oh, not good. So the first cut labeled from Mike Clemens. What did you learn when your team goes 5-7 your senior year at Wisconsin? Basically, what did you learn in your time as a Badger?
You definitely learn how to lose in a way. It always sucks. I wouldn't say you learn how to lose, but like going from high school and not really losing at all to getting to college and having some ups and downs, like you learn how to handle adversity and you learn how to be a leader and lead in those kind of tumultuous times and have to figure out and maneuver the different situations that you have. It was definitely tough at times, but like it teaches you lessons that you need going to the next level because it's, you get into the league and every week you're playing really, really good competition. And so just being able to kind of reset every day when you walk in the locker room, there's a lot of great life lessons that came out of my 4 years of college.
Come to Wisconsin, where you can learn life lessons. The first and foremost of them being...
You definitely learn how to lose in a way.
Great. That's great. Excellent. Hunter Waller played under 3 different head coaches, one of them interim, Jim Leonard when he was the interim head coach, but was part of the group that, was there under Christ when he got fired, and then played under Fickle. I'm trying to think, Hunter Waller, let me look at his Pro Football Reference, or college football, but you know what I mean. I want to look at his stats here. Hunter Waller, Badgers safety. I want to make sure I have his seasons correct. So 2021, 2022, 2023. I'm trying to think of what the most meaningful win in that stretch would be. Like in Hunter Waller's career, this is the biggest win they had. Struggling to come up with one. Like, they weren't always awesome under Christ, or they were different levels of competitive. You could always normally circle a game or two every year where it's like, yeah, maybe the year wasn't great, but I remember that game. That game was fun. You know what I mean? I think of that LSU game. It's the first weekend I was in college, 2016, 9 years ago. Like that was fun. And I can't think of any fun between 2021, 22, 23, and 24. But it's not all about the scoreboard in life, ladies and gentlemen. You know this. Going to college is about learning life lessons. Like
you definitely learn how to lose in a way.
That's not good. That's not good. What else is there to say? Cut number 2 that I wanted to play. Badgers went 5-7 last year. What kind of program do you leave behind in Madison under Luke Fickell?
It's going in the right direction. I mean, obviously, the last 2 years haven't exactly been what I envisioned, what Coach Fickell has envisioned. But like, Coach Fick's a great coach. I have 100% faith that he's gonna get that program in the right place. He's got a great coaching staff around him. Coach Brady, the strength coach, is a great. They have the pieces to put together a really good program and put something together that's going to be special. And so I trust that, in the next few years, they'll be right back to competing for Big Ten championships and making their way into the playoff and making us now alumni really, really proud.
Okay. So that first comment, that's kind of where I want to hang out here.
It's going in the right direction. I mean, obviously.
Okay. So let's just hang out with that. So back to the beginning of Hunter Waller's career. Hunter Waller came in or began playing in 2021. So let's go back to 2019. We'll leave out the pandemic year. They went 10-4 in 2019. That team was pretty good. Lost the Rose Bowl because what's his nuts, fumbled the ball. Mason Stockey, pride of Menominee, Wisconsin, scored a touchdown in that game. What was the wide receiver's name? He was kind of the shifty return specialist. Coughed it up. Badgers had the lead. Can't remember his name. 10-4 that year, should have won the Rose Bowl. Although you could say that about basically every Rose Bowl they were in. Nick Toon catches that pass or whatever. So 10-4 in 2019. Let's skip the pandemic. 2021, they go 9-4. Okay. 2022, they go 7-6. 2023, Luke Fickell, 7-6. 2024, the year we just wrapped up, 5-7.
It's going in the right direction.
It is not going in the right direction. And next year, do they have win totals out? I thought I saw 5.5, which is as much of an indictment on their schedule as it is on the quality of team. You know what I mean? Like, if your win total, your over-under is set at 5.5, does not speak highly of your program. Obviously. That's also factoring in a schedule that is bloody murder in an expanded Big Ten next year. Okay. But an over-under, a win total of 5.5, like to go from 10 wins in 19 to 9 wins in 21 to 7 in 22 to 7 in 23 to 5 in 24. And now next year, you're over-under, your win total set at 5.5.
It's going in the right direction.
I do not think it is. I do not think it's going in the right direction. I don't know. Maybe we could talk about this with Zach. This is probably in his wheelhouse more than it's in my wheelhouse. I just, I didn't come in today to do Bill's show expecting to talk about Badger football, but then Mike rifles over a bunch of comments from Hunter Waller, and this is the first thing I hear when he's asked about his experience at Wisconsin.
You definitely learn how to lose in a way.
Like, how do I hear that and think of anything other than a massive indictment on the program, where it's been, where it's headed, just the whole thing? I'm not trying to be overly negative, but that's not what folks are supposed to say after playing at Wisconsin.
You definitely learn how to lose in a way.
Like, that's not That's not good enough. So we can take our final break. Maybe we'll be lucky enough if Zach is set up for Thorson and Heilprin live at Monks and Sun Prairie. So if you're a Madison listener and you could stop by, I definitely would recommend it. It's right off the main drag. Once you go under the interstate towards Sun Prairie on 151. You know where I'm talking about. Stop by. Go see him. I believe he's going to have Evan Flood with him tonight. I will text him over this break to confirm, or we'll ask him on air next. Let's put him on the spot. Why not? One final segment. Zach Heilprin should be joining us next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
You definitely learn how to lose in a way. It always sucks. I wouldn't say you learn how to lose, but like going from high school and not really losing at all to getting to college and having some ups and downs, like you learn how to handle adversity and you learn how to be a leader and lead in those kind of tumultuous times and have to figure out and maneuver the different situations that you have. It was definitely tough at times, but like it teaches you lessons that you need going to the next level, because it's, you get into the league and every week you're playing really, really good competition. And so just being able to kind of reset every day when you walk in the locker room, there's a lot of great life lessons that came out of my 4 years of college.
A lot of life lessons. The first and foremost being learning how to lose. His words, not mine. It's the first thing out of his mouth. It's Hunter Waller, former Badger safety. That was him at the Combine either earlier today or yesterday. Not sure. Mike Clemens sent me the sound today. I didn't get the press release about Hunter Waller's media availability. I don't know. I don't know how you can hear that cut and do anything other than shake your head. I believe Zach Heilprin is standing by at Monks and Sun Prairie. I think, as he is our sports director at the Zone in Madison, but also an established clubhouse and locker room presence in both the football and the basketball programs at the University of Wisconsin. Zach, when you hear that cut, what does that make you think? What's your response to that?
I mean, he's had a lot of practice learning how to lose these last few years, right?
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
I did not come in today to the studio thinking, oh, Hunter Waller, but Mike sent it, and then we played those cuts. I'm like, man, that's not what you're supposed to hear from a UW Badger as they go into the NFL.
You're not supposed to, but you will, because they have had a really rough couple of years. As you texted me, and as we all know, they have 0 marquee wins in his 4 years at Wisconsin. Like, think about his 4 years at Wisconsin. Who did they beat when he was there?
Jaden Daniels.
Jaden Daniels lists. Here, sorry, Evan Flood is with me.
Hi, Evan. I thought I recognized Evan's voice. So that was that the Las Vegas Bowl? What game even was that?
That was the Las Vegas Bowl. Las Vegas Bowl, Arizona State. Took down Jaden Daniels.
Oh, that's right.
Before
that's
he
right.
was
That's right.
Jaden
That's right.
Daniels,
That's right.
20 years from now, nobody will know that. It'll just be they beat Jaden Daniels.
Is that good? Is that a marquee win, Grant?
Well, look, I'm not trying to nitpick him, but I was doing this segment before you guys came on. I'm like, at the very least, and there were varying levels of success with Christ and previous coaches, but in most years, you could like wrap your arms around at least one win where it's like, yeah, there was a real flash there. There was a real nice moment there. And I don't think I'm nitpicking, and I'm glad that Zach, because sometimes, I'm a little over dramatic, and then you walk me back, and that's why we work well together. Like, I don't think I'm speaking out of turn when I say I don't even know what Hunter Waller's signature win is when he talks about his time at Wisconsin.
He doesn't have one, obviously. He almost had one, if not for a quarterback who saw a guy in the middle of the field and still threw it. He might have had a signature win against Penn State.
And then admitted he saw the guy after the game. He's like, no, I saw him, which made it worse. That one? Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see him? Did you see the guy? Yep. And still threw it. Okay, guy. If you weren't already out on Braden Locke at that point, that was the time to jump off the whatever train that he was on. And then, a couple weeks later against Oregon, if you have any competent quarterback and maybe some other offensive aspects, they win that game. So they could have 2 marquee wins, beating 2 top 5 teams, and instead they beat neither of them because the quarterback play was horrible.
So he was here. He started starting in 2019 or 2021, I believe.
No.
Does he go back farther than that? 21.
No, he was a freshman at 21.
Okay, 21. Well, I was going back to 19 because I was trying to find their last signature. Was their last win? It could have been the Rose Bowl. Who was the player that fumbled in the Rose Bowl when they had the lead in 19? I couldn't remember.
Is that they had a blocked? Was it a blocked punt or I know that
Anthony Lottie.
The punter dropped the snap, and he also did that in the Big Ten championship game too.
They
lost that one for him as well.
I thought they had the lead in the ball late, and they threw a little.
Oh
swing
yeah.
pass.
Danny Davis.
Danny Davis.
Or Kendrick Pryor.
I think it was Kendrick Pryor. This is meaningless. It was just bothering me in the last segment, so I needed to scratch that itch my brain. Are you guys going to talk Badgers hoops tonight? Like what's on the docket for you? Let's set that up.
Yeah, we definitely are talking Badger hoops. This is going to be a little bit of a different Thorsten and Heilprin. We probably will not get into conspiracy theories. We probably will not.
Evan doesn't like
get
that
into
kind of stuff.
Anything like that. No, I mean on air probably not. We've gotten into deep discussions off the air about the Jeffrey Epstein's list and everything like that, but that won't be discussed on air, of course. But we've been diving into that for sure. But no, it's Badger basketball, right? They have a huge game on Sunday at Michigan State, so I think we're going to dive into that and where Wisconsin is heading into March. We are just 2 days away from the month, even though we got a little taste of it last night with Michigan State beating Maryland the way they did. But yeah, we're heavy on Badger basketball tonight.
Yeah, I realized that March is coming up because I remember today I got to pay my rent, which is always a kick in the crotch.
Isn't that every month though?
Well, yeah, but it doesn't get better. You'd think you'd get used to it. Financially, I never do. I'm bummed out.
I'll never financially recover from this.
No, I will never financially recover from this. I'm trying to consider, and I brought this up last night, Zach, because we're trying to make sense of the Washington win and what it means, and it is nice, a nice bounce back. It's what a good team would do. But can you consider, what kind of conversations would you and Evan get to have tonight if they had beaten Oregon? This game would feel a little bit different. And Sunday's game is huge, but I feel like we were robbed a little bit. And that's why that game on Saturday bothers me so much.
I mean, you're playing for first place I guess depends on what Michigan does, but you're playing for first place if you hadn't lost that game. You have 4 losses. They have 3. You're sitting at 13-3, and they're sitting at, or should say you're sitting at 13-4, and they're sitting at 14-3. So you're right there, 1 game, and it's for first place and obviously the tiebreaker. So yeah, the game would be significantly bigger than it is right now, but it's still big for Wisconsin in their NCAA seed. I feel like they're in a good spot to get the double bye, Evan, right? They're in a good spot to get the double bye at the Big Ten tournament and still in kind of position in a solid spot to get to Milwaukee, but they need to win. I feel like maybe they need to win all 3 of these, but certainly the last 2. You can't lose those last 2 and still think you're going to be a top 4 seed.
Question for Evan, because his coverage of Badger basketball is excellent, but also top of the line for high-level high school hoops coverage. A staple in all the big games around the state. Why is it not only in college, and we saw this last night. Evan Flood. Yeah, the kids love him. Why is it that Jacoby Gillespie, and we see this in high school too, Evan, why in a tie game, why does it have to be a 3 to win? Why does no one take it to the cup anymore, especially in the double bonus?
Yeah, they were plagued by bad decisions all night. I thought Maryland played their worst game I've ever seen. They let Michigan State off the hook big time. So they got what was coming to them. But, yeah, I mean, 5 seconds left, plenty of time to get to the free throw line. You go into hero mode, and you haven't shot from 3 all game. I don't know. If I were Maryland's head coach, I'd be pulling hair out after that one.
Doesn't have any.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Izzo said after the game, we deserved it. Didn't you watch? We played hard. I'm like, okay, I like Izzo, but I'm not sure that I agreed there.
Nobody deserved that one.
that was an old school rock fight, and it wasn't pretty, which is okay.
Well, I look forward to listening to you guys. Some great Badgers basketball coverage and conversation, and I'm sure other things over the next hour. Enjoy the show, guys. Thank you for joining me.
All right, thanks, Grant.
Yeah, have a good one. Evan and Zach live at Monks and Sun Prairie. They'll take over in just a couple minutes. And if you're in our Madison audience, WOZN, stop by and see them. That was the most buttoned-up segment of crosstalk I think I've had with Zach. Evan brings a professional element that Thorsten has in him. He just Ebo doesn't often like to bring it out. I'll talk to you.